All right. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for just joining me, being a part of my podcast. Before I even start, we do this thing called the over the top intro, mainly because we are ever so grateful just to have guys like you on the podcast itself. So before I even start, I gotta butter your bread a little bit. Everybody cool with that?
I'm cool.
All right, all right, all right. My camera fell a little bit, but we're all good here. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is an actress, producer, writer. You may know her from such films as Soft and Quiet, Boy Makes Girls, and my personal favorite, The Sweetest Kiss, or Nothing Like the Sun, depending on what part of the country you are in. Right next to her in this Zoom screen is a professional actor that you may know from such films such as Sense8, Sorry to Bother You, The Matrix, and he's also the voice of Necro in Street Fighter 3, a game I have lost a considerable amount of money in. No, I'm dead serious. And lastly, and certainly not leastly, he is the pride of USC's School of Cinematic Arts. He is a director, writer, producer, and professional tall person. I don't exactly know how you can go pro in that. However, if you stay tuned and find out, he is making his feature film debut with the film Wide-Eyed and Wicked, what we are here to talk about today. It comes out June 11, 2024, on demand and on digital. Stefanie, Michael, Gordon, welcome to the podcast.
Howdy, sir.
Ooh, thank you. I like that intro.
Oh, that was delicious buttered bread.
But seriously, I have been following you guys in different forms without knowing it to some degree. And to have all of you guys in the same film, this is just like, oh, well, cool. I like combo platters. So let's get into it. I guess my first question goes to Gordon. And I got to word my questions very carefully because I don't want to give away anything in the film. So how did this film come about?
Sure. Well, the quickest and easiest answer, because it's, a culmination of a whole lot of things that would be kind of a long, almost arduous answer. But the simplest, easiest way to put it was that we still have, everybody loves, medieval fantasy and fantasy in the modern day. And so it's clearly giving us something that we want and a lot of people are drawn to. And so I was curious, like, what if we are dealing with a modern person that feels that pull to become a knight, to fight something for some reason. So that's kind of the angle there.
Well, in a way, there is a kind of meta reasoning. I don't know if you did this. This is more a question or a comment or quimit. But this film is kind of like tackling demons, throwing on your armor, grappling sword, because as this movie starts, I'm wording this very carefully. Our main character is going through some things, talking to therapists, just really trying to wrap her brain around what has happened in this film. So this is kind of a metaphor of what she's going through.
Sure. Yeah. And I loved when working through that and writing the script, there's something my producer Patrick Robert Young said to me that sticks with me, which was, when you're working through something and you're dealing with any sort of psychological horror, psychological drama, etc., and you're always dealing with like how real something is or not. And so I was kind of playing with that, and he said to me, he's like, Gordon, all movies are metaphors. Don't worry about this so much, which I loved because it's like, yeah, they're all movies are metaphors. So don't worry about it so much. Explore the themes, and it's not like, oh, this is real here, but not here. Get away from that crap. It's boring. All movies are metaphors. If anybody thinks they're real, you have a different problem.
It never occurred to me when you were talking about that, about the level of with the medieval forces and stuff and the fighting and all of that, and then it's a personal drama. It's like the honor and integrity that you're supposed to have as a medieval knight. And then this is about being honorable and having integrity, like with your own self. That just kind of occurred to me. I like that.
I love that. Oh my gosh, yes.
And we did that without spoiling one piece of this movie. This is great. Stefanie, my next question go to you, because in this film, you are the cause and solution to a lot of and a lot of the stuff that's going on that we're talking about here. What drew you to such a complex character like Sylvia?
Gosh, well, the fact that she's complex, right? Like
Yeah.
that she like without ruining anything, is, you know, the light and the dark for her daughter, right? She is the source of a lot of wonderful love and beautiful memories, but it's also the source of great pain and trauma. And I think I get to move between both of those in a very specific way in this film, if you will. I get to play, I think, perhaps a grounded character who's going through some really deep emotional stuff. And then I get to, you know, be a kind of fantastical I don't want to ruin anything, but
Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, a dark force.
Okay. Well, speaking of
Yeah.
pain and trauma, let's get into that a little bit more. I know I said that with a smile on my face, but Sylvia is very physical in this movie. Was that you? Did you do your own stunts? Was that what there's a lot of like because it's not a lot of people who look like you. So I'm very curious.
I did. We had a fantastic stunt choreographer, Julia Hopkins, who I worked with pretty extensively, Gordon, right? For like about 2 days getting the fight choreography down. And yeah, I think it's mostly me. I don't think we had a stunt double in the.
That was all you. That was all you.
Stephanie is also very playful and willing to take chances and just to try things out. And that's really important in my opinion when you're doing scenes like she was doing.
Yeah. And I had
it shows.
And you know,
Yeah.
Gordon was very clear and about how he wanted this physicality to be manifest. And he has like great training in the body as an instrument. He's very well versed in dance as an art form, and I think that was incorporated a little bit into a bit of the movement and like the variations of the movement. Like there was a much more staccato type of movement in the fighting, but then there's also like a bit more lyrical things when I'm getting closer to Lily and kind of talking to her more intimately.
Okay. Well, Michael, look, throughout your career, you play a lot of characters that's out there. That's just
Yes.
So a character like Gregory seems to be a little bit more grounded. How was that adapted to more of your wackier type characters that you're used to?
I liked that a lot. That was something that really drew me to it. You know, and I look at it as sort of the same thing. It's just how do you like this character is as wacky as anybody, but he's not putting it out there maybe. And so it's all about finding the reality, you know, like things that I do myself. Like if my character was not happy with how he came out of fatherhood, meaning I'm not sure I did the best job. And there are times when I've disappointed myself. And what does that look like? And it was really fun to try to be a little bit smaller.
Okay.
If that, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, you got to tone it down just a little bit.
Tone it down, yeah.
But one of the cool things about your character, and I don't know if this is acting or not, but the first few scenes with Lily are just so cold, awkward.
Yeah.
No one knows what to say. No one knows what to do. So how is that, or kind of faking that, or are you not faking that where you got to like act like, all right, I totally messed this one up. Just, I don't want to mess this one up again.
You know, I think it's like nervousness and you're like wanting to, you're wanting to do really well, but then like the first thing goes a little bit wrong. I keep talking about expectations and arrogance as a person. I keep talking about how you think it's going to go really well. I came up with a great line to say to my daughter, this is going to go great. And then it doesn't, and it's a setback. And that's when it gets cold and you're like, oh shoot, I better watch my tongue on my next response. And then you're self-conscious, and then you're thinking it, you're overthinking it. It gets a little cold. And you're also, the other person can see that you didn't like their response to you. And so it can escalate there a little bit. How do you get out of that? I've been there.
Well, my next question is for everyone, because I don't want to bring you there, because we're talking about real life versus the movie. You know the old saying that says the cast and crew of any project is like a family. But Gordon, in your case, it was your actual family on your actual family farm, and you're kind of like inviting everyone to hang out with your family. How was that?
Well, great. It's because my family, a lot of family lives and works on the farm. And so on one level, that's great because, you get to have this lovely group effort. And at the same time, it's also complicated because it's still, people's livelihoods are connected to the farm, and time is money. And if tractors are loud, and when I'm pausing tractors, because if a tractor's running anywhere on the farm, that's going to, annihilate your sound recording kind of thing. So there's always that, so it comes across idyllic, but there's also, difficulties. But yeah, my family is very supportive, especially when, we're doing late night shoots and in a house where, my parents are sleeping. I mean, they're barely getting any sleep because we're, banging around all night. They still manage to get some, but
they were loving it, Gordon. They were loving it.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about your parents and your sister and brother-in-law, but what about your family? That's the horses and the dogs and what else do you have on there?
Yeah, lots of animals, because one of the horses was Dawn was in the movie. That was the horse in the film. One of my horses my sister takes care of, and my sister was actually working with my wife was the double for armored fighting and riding. So my sister was working a lot ahead of time with my wife to how to ride, and then getting the horse used to just the sounds of armor, because horses are like they need to get used to something, or else their instinct is just to run away from it, because that's how they survive in natural environments. So they hear something, they go bye. Yeah, but then dogs, my corgi Mina was sort of the set mascot, and it's very cute. Crazy for her. But yeah, you're right, Michael. Yeah, the family is the animals too, and so on and so forth.
So having the family together, this more, I guess, for Stephanie and Michael and is that helpful when shooting some of those intense scenes where you kind of you better trust whoever you're with, because some of those scenes, God, it is very hard not to spoil anything in this movie, but there are a few that's coming to think of towards the middle. I hope that helps. Where, come on, Sam. Did that help with some of the awkwardness of some of those super intense scenes? I should say, just put it like that. Overall, I don't want to pick one specific one, but just being in a close knit place.
I think for me, absolutely. Like, I mean, you talk about Gordon's actual, biological family and his farm family, but we had a film family too that was completely supportive. And I think when you're doing intense scenes, whether they are emotionally intense, physically intense, or both, knowing that you're supported by your team is really essential to be able to go to those places. So I have to commend everyone who worked on this for creating that environment where it felt easy to go there and dare I say fun. So yeah, like it helped tremendously to be so well connected to each other.
I think it's helpful to have smaller numbers, which you had. There are downsides to having less money, but that means you got a smaller crew. and then you have less people, smaller families, more intimate, more people that you can learn that you are okay with them watching you do something crazy or vulnerable. And so the smaller numbers were that's a family too. Families aren't huge most of the time, not mine.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. But one thing I always love to ask every director, this movie was it was perfect length of time. I got through it. It was great. I loved seeing what I saw, but what, if anything, was left on the cutting room floor that you were like, hey, maybe I should have put this in there, or I should have elaborated a little bit more on this?
What a fun question. Yeah, there were only two scenes that were outright cut because again, when we shot for 16 days, we already had to go into it pretty lean and not with any like, oh, maybe we'll get this and see what happens kind of thing. Like we had to be pretty lean. But yeah, there were two scenes that were actually Wilford Conway, the editor, and I like actually in the assembly still built out those scenes. And they eventually went. And they were both great, but you eventually, if it helps your pacing and you think that the information naturally, organically that you were covering in those scenes came through elsewhere, which was the case that they could go. But we'll probably at some point release those scenes. Both of them, Michael are in. There's one where when the character really comes to the house, he's shown that he's like bought some food that he remembers her liking. And it's one of it's we made up a cookie brand called Chunkos. And he's like, hey, I got you Chunkos. And she's like, I liked these when I was 12. So it's like kind of funny and I liked it, but like it was another scene showing that there's a lot of distance between them. And the scene before that already showed there was a lot of distance between them. So even though I liked it, it was kind of like we can kind of keep moving along. And then there was another scene, which was actually one of the first scenes I ever wrote for the film, as a scene where after Molly sees something scary at a particular moment, kind of later-ish in the film, in a barn, she comes inside and she's like thinking about how she's going to deal with this. And Michael, as Gregory, comes in and like sits on the bed next to her and like talks through it. And it's a really beautiful, powerful scene. As one of the original that I wrote. But ultimately, it was cut simply because organically, both Molly and Michael already demonstrated in so many other scenes the emotional, like what each character was working through. So I didn't have to have quite so telegraphed of a moment of them talking about it. But both of those scenes exist, and I mean, we'll probably maybe put them up later on so people to watch them because they're edited, they're great, and great performances. So yeah, very cool question.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very curious. What did you want the audience to take from this project?
That's always a fun question. And I always want everybody to come away with something different. I think that shows you've done your job. If everyone comes away going, oh, it was about, don't eat your cucumbers, then and if everybody says that, it's kind of like yawn and you move on with your life. So absolutely, because again, that's why I want to explore things more than telegraph things, of course. So I want everybody to come with something different. I hope again people have physical reactions, as in the physical act of screaming or crying or laughing. Like I always love that. That's my part of the fun of seeing these things with live audiences. So yeah, that's what I hope.
Well, everyone, I have to ask this question because you guys are so welcome. You can come back on my podcast anytime. We could talk about, but what is next on the horizon for each of you?
Well, I'm waiting with. I'm very excited about two films that are coming out. The first one is called Freaky Tales, and it's about Oakland, California, which is my home right now, in 1987, with all sorts of the people around there, from the Golden State Warriors, the Oakland Athletics, and actors, and Too Short, the rapper whose song is the title, and
Right.
that's coming out this summer. I don't know when exactly yet. And then later in the year, Guitar Man. So I'm excited about that.
All right. Stephanie?
Yeah, I just wrapped a sort of another horror thriller that's the title is still up in the air, and I have another horror coming out probably later this year called Decibel. deals with AI, which is terrifying. And then I just found out that a Lifetime movie, or like Lifetime-esque movie that I did, will be coming out, I believe, this summer. It's called The Intern.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Merging
Ooh.
sin and intern together. You get
Are they typecasting you in horror, Stephanie? Is that what's going on?
I swear that was my next question. Now, yep, that you're good at it. Let's just put it like that. Let's talk about the positive of it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Hey, horror, I love the extremes of horror. So fun.
Yeah.
Gordon?
Up next, I've been writing away. You know, I've written 3 screenplays since we shot this. And I working hard on a epic fantasy novel. There'll be a series because again, I get to be 100 billion% myself and not worry about budgets, which is always great. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by the
All
podcast.
right.
Wide-eyed and wicked. I'm
Wide-eyed and
posted
wicked.
on all my social media and all the other good stuff. And thank you guys so much for just joining the podcast.
That was fun. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great one, guys.